Thank you for joining me for this episode. In Her Own Way is a space to create and spark conversations with women around the world who are living boldly. This podcast will offer new perspectives and status quo pushing thoughts from women who speak with heart, soul, and courage.
Lesson, what if it could be simple? What if what you're doing, it's too much and it's not being as effective as it needs to be? And what are the one or two things that you could do right now that takes all this complexity out of it? And it's just a simple task that, again, like you just said, can have a big win.
Okay, I am on today with Andrea Layne. She's from America. We got the time zones correct, which is good. And you're an integrator, which I'm super excited to hear more about that, and an online business manager. Now, I had you on because, as you know, one of my biggest things is helping women, especially entrepreneurs, find flow and alignment, and so that they can reduce overwhelm and burnout. And when I started my business, it was probably maybe a year and a half ago. I actually hired someone similar to you, and they got me onto Dubsado and Asana. And I was like, oh my gosh, why have I not been doing this for 3 years? And all of that fiddly stuff, the workflows and the invoicing and just the follow-up from a podcast, for example, can be a workflow. Can just absolutely overwhelm you to the point where you're completely debilitated. So the guru, the systems guru, I have you here because I want women, there's a couple of things I want to talk to you about, but I wanted women to hear it because I think there's a lot of oh, it's too hard, it's all too hard. But it actually, once you just do it, it's so powerful. So welcome to the podcast. Tell us a bit about who you are, Andrea, and then we're going to dive into this.
Thank you so much. I love that introduction. We're totally in alignment there. We talk about that flow thing. For me, that's what I want to. I want business to be easy for people. It doesn't have to be so hard. And we'll get into a little bit more of that as we go. So yes, I'm Andrea Layne. I'm from Tampa, Florida. And my business is called The Creative Spring. And I've been in business for a couple of years doing this. Before that, I was a wedding florist. So I've been in your entrepreneurial seat. I did that for 7 years. And trust me, I probably made every mistake that you could have made being a wedding florist. There's a lot of them. There's money mistakes, and there's, delivery mistakes and dealing with clients, and, part of business is overcoming and trying things. And so it's been really fun to come into this business. I was a business consultant for corporate America for 11 years before I was a florist, and I was doing IT project management. So I have a pretty deep-seated background in business. And one of the things I did pretty well in my floral design business was some of the business operations pieces. And that's what I help people with today. I've been changing up. I do less systems implementation these days and more strategy. So what does your operations roadmap look like? Why are we doing these things? And how can we craft your offers and support those offers so that you're making the money you want to make and you're doing it in a way where you're not spending extra time?
I love that so much, because the thing is what I see a lot, and we're going to talk about this as well, is this I'm just doing it because I love it. My soul feels like it wants to explode around the world, and kind of this woo-woo approach, which is fine, which is absolutely fine.
You need a little bit of that.
yeah. Or I call it the the servant leadership, the servant business. Yes. Everything's for free, and everything I do is for free. And I think that there needs to be this balance between, you can have all of those intentions, like a woo-woo or a spiritual or I want to give back intention. But at the end of the day, a business is a business, and you have to have systems.
Yeah, and it needs to make money. And here's the really big deal. Your business is only part of your life. So your business should support the life you want to lead. not the other way around. And that's why the passion piece is really hard, because sometimes that passion leads us to places that really make our business really difficult and make our life really difficult. And I've been there. Like floral was a passion for me, but it did not give me the life I wanted. I have a 13-year-old daughter and a 15-year-old daughter and a traveling salesman husband. And I was away from them when they were home because of that business. And that didn't give me the life I wanted.
I really love that. Create a business system that is going to give you the life that you want. Bam.
Bam. That's
Bam.
it.
And we're done. Just joking.
So I really think it's important to have a business that you like and that you enjoy showing up for, and that you have a really good grasp of why you're doing it. But it doesn't have to be this passion. Honestly, sometimes the passion takes us to a place that's just unhealthy.
I agree with that. I think it's about looking at like the 2 or 3 things that you can do really well and having really good systems for those, and then kind of letting your passions fly around when you're honed in. And that does, I've been doing business now for 4 years, and I finally feel like, okay, yeah, I can hitch my wagon to these things. But I think it's also because I didn't have systems before. So one of the first things I want to talk to you about is why is having like an onboarding system for new inquiries really important? Like, so this whole idea, like, especially with coaching, for example, right? Like, if I'm looking at my onboarding system, I have this general, I would have a strength and skills, I'd have a more intense life coaching workflow, I'd have a podcast workflow. And then if I do like some pro bono work, I might have a different workflow. Sure. But why is it important for people, like you're coming to this whole idea of having a life that you want to live? Why is it so important to really think about your workflows and think about your different clients?
Yeah, it's important because it takes your complexity in your business and it helps to give it a simplified path to follow. And so like one of the reasons why I often see people overwhelmed is because they're working these things out of their inbox, and their inbox has 4,000 plus things in it because they're trying to drive their business out of there. And the reason why that doesn't work is because you can't find stuff. It doesn't make sense. An inbox isn't a data repository. It is a place to have some communication, but it isn't a place to drive a process. And so in order to have a cleaner, more clear thought process through the admin pieces of your business, which let's just be honest, most people don't love, it's better to have a system that supports that. It allows it to run like clockwork. It allows it to, once you put these systems in place, then you don't have to think about them. That's the brilliancy of a system like Dubsado, which is a customer relationship management system. It's a place for you to store your client data and to drive processes. A lot of people fail at it though, because they don't think about the process and they try to work within these systems manually, just like they've been doing in their inbox. And so really to get the most benefit out of systems, you really do have to think about like, what are the steps that I want my clients to go through in order to work with me in the various offers that I offer? And once you do that, then you can automate. And that's where you really get the benefit of putting a system in place.
Totally. And it's been, I think that's really good. I love how you said it. Like, what is it? It's kind of like thinking about, okay, so what is it that's taking up so much of my time? Emails. It was for me, it was like, have they paid? Have they not paid? Have they filled the questionnaire? Where is the questionnaire? I can't find the questionnaire responses. Do they email it to me? Do they send it as a Word document? Like all of that, all of those things you just said, working your business or your inbox does not work, which is, I love that. That is so true. Like I don't even want to think about it. It makes my brain hurt. Like it literally makes my brain hurt. So I kind of started with chaos.
Like everybody does. I mean, that's normal. Let's just also be honest about this. Like when you get your first client, you don't know, like most people don't have Dubsado set up for their first client, like really, or even maybe their first 10 clients, because you have to figure out the process that it's going to take for you to even work with that client. Totally. Right? But once you do, then you start to realize that chaos in the background isn't supporting you, and it's actually like taking your mental space away from what you really should be focused on.
I agree. One of the things that helped fix it. Yeah, and one of the things that helped me was that I'm like a sticky note girl. So like I started writing down all the things I wanted to do and then like rearrange them on my desk. And I think that when I first started, I actually used is it canned responses on Gmail. And
Yes,
I
yes, you can do that.
had responses in there, which I could then just shoot through, which helped me a lot. But honestly, Dubsado was like when I got my head around it, or if you can hire someone like Andrea, then you
Someone.
hire someone like Andrea because it really, it just helps. It's just so much better.
Well, because what you're doing is most people are a business owner and they're in a different kind of mindset than they're thinking through like operations. Operations takes a certain kind of like brain function wave. And there are like operations people out there, and there's creative people out there, and there's people who are really good at talking with customers and helping them have breakthroughs. And typically these things don't cross over each other. Usually you're not good at all of these things. And so by hiring somebody that's what they do, and they're really good at thinking through the step-by-step process of operations, then what you're doing is you're helping to support and put a framework in for your business so that you can layer on what you do to it.
Love it. And I just think it's so important. And I actually coach a lot. Like I coach with so many people. I should probably team up with you actually. I coach with so many people who like their goal is I want streamline. I want streamline. I want streamline. And I'm like, I know what you want. I just don't do detail well. So if that's one of the things that you're working on in your business, or you're coaching through overwhelm and burnout, and one of the major key factors is that you're not streamlined, then that's what we need to address for sure.
Yeah, spend the money on it. And honestly, it's a lower cost thing to spend money on. Like if you start going out there and looking at, well, what does it cost to get Dubsado set up for me? What does it cost to hire a VA to manage my Dubsado for me? We're not talking thousands of dollars here. We're talking maybe $1,000 to get it set up with the right person who really knows what they're doing. And, maybe, you're on a retainer with a client, with a VA for 5 hours a month to help you with this stuff. And that stuff's like couple $100 a month type stuff.
Yeah. And I always think about, let's just look about how much your money you're making an hour. So like, if you were making I remember like when I was high up in my network marketing, like we were making stacks and stacks and stacks of money, maybe let's just say it was $100 an hour, that'd be worth for how much money. And then you think, well, if it costs me $1,000, am I wasting more than 10 hours? If the answer is yes,
Probably.
really good use of your investment, for sure. For sure. That's how I always break it down.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah, and everybody talks about this ROI, and like this particular setup and spend of money in your business has a really fast return on investment because it is such a low cost, and it does shave hours out of your business because it takes away all of that thinking through what am I supposed to do every time, and where am I supposed to go, and how do I find all this information. Like it shaves all of that out of your day.
I think it also professionalizes your brand.
Absolutely, because what you're doing is you're improving your client experience, and that's just one of the pillars of business. Like you want your clients to have a really good feel through this process. And what a tool like Dubsado does is it gives that, because what you can do is you can personalize these canned emails so that they feel really good to your client, because you can put their name into it and it pulls it out of the database and it just makes it feel really great. The second thing is you can create these proposals that are beautiful, that have these headers and images within them, so that when you send a client like what it is that they get to work with you, it makes them go, wow, this person looks like they really have it together, because it looks and feels really good because they've outlined it all. And you don't have to keep doing that all the time, because in Dubsado, that's a form and it happens every single time, and they're responsive, in the workflow, you can be like, okay, as soon as they pay the bill, send out the booking link. And instead of doing that manually, and it can happen in the middle of the night, which is so amazing.
Yeah.
The clients love that. There's like a responsiveness that happens inside of an automation of a workflow that just makes clients feel like you care because you're responding so quickly.
Do you know what the best thing about Dubsado to me is the online contract signing?
Yes, that's so good too.
I know it sounds so crazy, but like when I have to like print a Word document off and I can't even sign it, I'm like, go! And I've got to print it off, and I've got to sign it, and I've got to screenshot it back to that person. Or I could just be on my phone and quickly sign it. Like it's just so, and it also just, it's just so better. So anyway, y'all, if you're not doing it, you need to hop onto it because it's going to help you. The other thing
I will say, there's lots of CRMs out there, but I believe that Dubsado is the best in breed CRM for service-based professionals.
Yeah.
It is. I've worked in HoneyBook. I've worked in 17 Hats. I've worked in Zoho.
Yeah.
Dubsado is, it's just the best. Part of it is because the way that they allow you to trigger your workflows and things within your workflows, there's just more options. The second reason it's the best is because they're constantly making it better.
They
Some of
are.
these other platforms, they're not. They've added things recently like, don't let a workflow task go out until I approve it. A lot of people need that because it feels uncomfortable to them to allow this workflow just to happen. And by giving that little that nod to, yes, I really do think it's time for that to go out, it makes people who are administrating it feel a little bit better. And they've implemented a scheduler, and they've just been doing so much, and they're constantly evolving the system and making it better because they're getting feedback from all of us who are using it.
It's really good, and they're super responsive. Now, part of the photo that we talked about is payment. Okay.
Yes.
I have worked with so many beautiful women, God bless them, that are horrific with money.
Yeah.
That's like a whole other podcast, but literally horrific.
Yeah.
Horrific. So my thing is you must hear this from people, or maybe, I don't know if this is prevalent in America. I won't paint all Australians this way. They're a bit more passive than American. But I just love what I'm doing, and I don't want to be pushy with payment.
Yeah.
First of all, what's your response to that? I know what your response is going to be. Then how can having systems kind of help people who are really worried about this kind of navigate it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely in the mindset of, we are delivering a valuable service to the people that we are delivering it to, and it is worth the money that they are paying us for it. So, I definitely am you need to pay me, and you need to pay me when it's supposed to be paid. Where systems support that, if you're not as clear about that as I am, is that in Dubsado, especially, the payment piece comes after you've sent them this beautiful proposal. It's after that you've had them sign this contract, and it has email language around it that you can say, I'm so excited to work with you, and you're what we're going to do is going to be transformational in your life. And by the way, here's the value of it, and I need you to pay me.
Yeah.
And so having a system that allows you to do that, and through a canned email, that's the kind of canned email response you can have. And then to do the follow-ups if they don't, because you can also kind of customize those. Oh, sorry, I noticed you didn't pay me yet. Can you please take a look at this? You can do those, and the system just takes care of that for you so that you're not constantly having to think about it.
Yeah, I agree. And see, in Australia, they actually have this ability to bank transfer. So you don't have to write checks. I know in the States, you guys still have checks. Don't get me started on that. But
I mean, most people pay me with credit cards. Yeah,
exactly. So in Australia, a lot of the times what happens is people you can just bank transfer the money, but then it takes 2 or 3 days, 1 or 2 days to clear this, and you've got to go into your account, make sure people paid it, The nice thing about even Dubsado for Australians, for example, is you can offer that, or you can just say even PayPal. You can use PayPal or Stripe or Square, and or you just dump it straight in. And how many of us have our credit card saved in our phone? Hello.
That's so much. That's one of the functions of having a phone these days.
Yeah. And all you've got to memorize is the CCV code, and you are in. It's dangerous.
Yeah.
But again,
so I think having the system takes away some of that thought process, because we're not offering them 18 different ways to pay us. Honestly, we're saying here's a little system that's going to handle it for you, and it's super easy. You just click on this little button and you pay me, and you're going to get some options that probably are going to be really easy for you with your phone.
Exactly. And it goes back to the whole customer experience. The easier it is for them to pay, then you get paid, etc. I love that. And I think that for people, I also loved how you were wording, hey, I saw that your invoice hasn't been paid yet. So you can really speak how you would want to speak in that situation.
Yes. Yeah, I think we talk a lot about making sure that your voice comes through on your website, so that people kind of get to know you better through the copy. It's the same thing with a system like Dubsado. Your proposal should be in language that you speak. Your canned email should sound like you, and if you're somebody that really wants to make sure that your client feels really good when it's time to sign that contract and pay that invoice, then you can use those words through those canned emails, and it does resonate. I've had a lot of really great feedback from my clients and from my customers' clients talking about how much they love Dubsado. I've actually had clients that didn't even think they wanted Dubsado set up as part of our thing, and they've gone through my Dubsado process and they're like, now I want Dubsado. And so, once you start doing it, it does get easier, and it just makes some of those money mindset things a little easier as well.
For sure. And the other cool thing about Dubsado, now that we're on the bandwagon of Dubsado, is that you can actually embed a questionnaire or a contact form straight onto your website, and it goes straight into a workflow. And you can actually give them multiple options, in-depth or contact or podcast, and it automatically goes straight into a workflow. So it's such a valuable thing for anyone, especially for people who have multiple services that they're wanting to offer, for sure.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, I don't manually enter anybody into my Dubsado. If somebody needs to come to me and they email me or they DM me on Instagram, I'm like, here's a link to my contact page. Go through, fill this out, and it will take you to the ability to book a free call with me.
Yep, that's exactly me too. I always do the same thing as well. I think it's great. So speaking of which, having all these flows and systems and kind of working on the money mindset, we did this. I wanted to have you on because I have such a passion for women to really start to do practical, I call them little changes for big wins.
Yes,
one of my coaching clients is this week, her little change for a big win was not to cook a certain food again. So she made something totally different. I'm like, hey, see, little changes, big wins. And so when we do little things like this, then we feel so much better in our space. We're not so burned out. So what are some of the top 2 to 3 tips? I mean, you've got 20 years of high corporate American career, plus running your own business, raising 2 kids. What are some of the tips that you have to help yourself or your clients with burnout and overwhelm?
Yeah. So one of the biggest, there's 2 things I say all the time to my clients. The first one is they start to get on this roll about, oh, I'm doing this and I'm doing this and I'm doing this, and then I don't have any time for it. And I'm like, listen, what if it could be simple? What if what you're doing is too much and it's not being as effective as it needs to be? And what are the 1 or 2 things that you could do right now that takes all this complexity out of it? And it's just a simple task that, again, like you just said, can have a big win.
I love that.
So I think we're all out there listening to, we're following all these people on Instagram. We're listening to all the podcasts. We're reading all the books, and all these different gurus and specialty experts are telling us all these things that we should be doing in our business. But we have to figure out what are the things that we actually need to do in our businesses. And it evolves as you kind of progress through from, a newbie starter to growing your business into scaling your business. There are different tasks you need to do along the way. But a lot of these books and gurus and stuff are talking about things that are for scaling. And if you're new in your business, then maybe you don't need to be sending out an email newsletter every single week to your people. Maybe you should be implementing something like Dubsado first. Really thinking through how can I simplify what it is that I'm doing to allow myself to really live inside this business without that overwhelm.
I love that.
So I always ask myself, what's the simple answer?
I love that. I love that question because we do overcomplicate it. I remember one time I said to one of my clients, you are not allowed to listen to more than 1 guru podcast a day. Because people will listen to 7 or 8 or they'll listen to audio all the time, and then you're just so overwhelmed.
Yeah, or I have told clients, you are not allowed to buy any more courses for this year. No more courses.
Yes.
You're not allowed.
Yes.
Because what's happening is they're buying all these courses, and then they're getting overwhelmed with the fact that they need to learn it and implement it, and they haven't even done some of the basics. And I'm just like, why are we over here thinking about Pinterest strategy when we don't even have a project management system to allow our service to be systematized? What are you doing? If you're not set up for a client to actually work with you, then if you're doing a strategy that's going to bring in more clients, I mean, I don't know. There's a little bit of a chicken and an egg thing here because you want to attract and convert and deliver and collect, right? But you have to be able to deal with a client when they come into your world. If you
Absolutely.
can't do that, then why are you over here trying to get 18 gazillion more clients? Like, let's focus on the right things at the right time.
I don't actually know if there's a chicken and the egg thing. I think it's like you really like it's actually true. You know, if you are going to go out there and spend, let's say, like $2,000 on Facebook ads to get people to come and get your free download, but then you have no automation system on your MailChimp or whatever you're using, then you don't have like Dubsado to pull people in to do a workflow, then like what is the point of the exercise?
Right. You're attracting more people than you can handle. And so you do need to attract, like you need to at least get a few clients in, but like, let's do some tasks that get a few clients in. Like maybe you go onto a Facebook group and you talk about how, you know, you answer a question really nicely. And a couple of people are like, wow, you're pretty smart. Maybe I should work with you, versus trying to go out and find, 2,000 more clients to come into your process. That's like not even ready for the 2 that you've had, contact with through a Facebook group.
Yeah, and I actually, one of the things I want to ask my clients now is like, how did you find the experience of logging in? How did you find that whole experience? So like, if you are a new coach or you are offering a product, like it'd be really good to survey your customers or your beta group or maybe some pro bono clients. Like, so what did you like about that? I never did that. One of the things that you've said is like the customer experience. Like, I think I've known that, but I haven't applied it, if that makes sense, in a conscious way.
It does. Yeah. And what I always tell people is, okay, so think about, like, this is a really easy tip. Think about like, what's going to be the steps that your customer is going to follow through your process. So, from how they're going to enter into your funnel, how are they going to come and find you? I'm going to say that because people talk about funnels and I feel like that's like a mystic term too, but how are people finding you and how are you taking them through the process to talk to them, to convert them through the sale, to onboard them into your system, to work with them and deliver what it is that you want them to get out of, working with you, and to collect the money and to along the way, and to make sure at the end that they were happy with the experience and they got out of it what they needed to get out of it. So that's like the end-to-end customer experience. If you can map that out, and I just did it for you, so a little bit. So take this as like the shell and work with it. If you can do that, then you can figure out what systems you need, what steps in those systems should happen, and how you want to talk to that customer through that process.
Yeah. And it sounds worse than it actually is.
Yeah, it shouldn't take you a long time. Like I said, if you're thinking that, Andrea, like this is going to take me like a day to map this out. No, honey, it's like 30 minutes. Like sit down with a piece of paper and like literally like write the steps. It's a checklist.
It's kind of like laundry. It sits there for a week and then you're like, oh, it only takes 15 minutes to put away. Why did I put this off for so long?
Why? And why did I allow this term of workflow and standard operating procedure and, checklist? Why did I let all these things scare me? Like they're not, it's scary because we're using these like, corporate terms for them and businessy, MBA terms for things. But honestly, like a process is just it's like step 1, do this, step 2, do that. And if we can like look at it that way, this is my simple, then it takes all of that like stress and overwhelm out of actually doing that task.
What's one of your other tips that you give to clients as well to help kick burnout and overwhelm?
Yeah. So what I find is people are really obsessed with productivity and being busy. And I think that it's not about that in our business. This is probably a whole other podcast episode too. It is really about being effective. Effective is number 1. Productivity and efficiency are just tools to apply to being effective. And so we sit there and we think, oh, we've got this huge amount of things that we're going to do today. And I'm going to be so productive. But I would argue with you that if those things that are on your list aren't really helping you to achieve the vision that you have for your business and your financial goals for your business, who cares if you did all these things and you did it really fast? It doesn't. And so I think a lot of us are focused on all the things and getting them checked off. And we're not thinking about why, what is the purpose of this task? And is it important for my business right now?
Love it. I think it's such a good question. I want people to do that. I think that's such a good question. Like, I think going back to like being effective is also like, what is the purpose of this exercise? Like, I've had to ask myself that question, like, what is your goal to attract more clients? So like, is how that you're presenting that to your clients good or bad? I don't like it. So what do you change about it? Like, I love the idea of like, what can we do to make it simple? And what can we do to make it more effective, i.e. more purposeful? Those are two really super powerful questions, which then allow you to live within your life. Like I wrote a blog post and I said, I don't want to like rain on your parade, but you're replaceable.
Yeah, we are.
Your work isn't your life.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
So
Agreed. And it shouldn't be. That's not what you want people to remember you for. Like, I don't want my kids at my funeral to be saying, oh, my mom worked all these hours and she was like this amazing expert in her business. I want them to say, my mom was there for me and I loved seeing how hard she worked when she was working. But I knew that if I walked in and something needed to happen, that she would drop that right there and be able to talk with me and help me with whatever it is I needed. That's what I want them to say. That's what we all want, right? So then, how do you set up this business to be effective, to achieve these goals that you need it to achieve, and still allow you to be that person that can be there for the people that need you?
So good. Love it. I think it's great. So the couple that their favorite tools, one is Dubsado. Obviously, we talked about that.
Of course. I mean, they should just sponsor this podcast right now.
I should email them and be like, hey, can you give us like a whatever or like a unicorn? Speaking of unicorns, Asana is,
yes.
I love Asana. I don't use it. I haven't used it enough. And I know that your little brain would just like freak out. And the best part is on your phone when you do something that's like unicorn Pegasus. Is it a Pegasus? It's not a Pegasus. It's some
They're
like
magical animals that will fly across the screen. So there's like narwhals and like really pretty birds and like, unicorns that fly across the screen when you finish things. God, how much do you love that? Like
you're like, I'm just gonna put the socks.
Andrea is like, please give me more unicorns flying across the screen.
And then it shakes. So it's like this multi-sensory like experience of like validation. I mean, yeah. Why wouldn't you have Asana?
Right. And so Asana is, it's considered a project management tool. So where Dubsado is going to handle like your customers kind of going through an automated process. Asana is going to be how you're going to work with your customers, how you're going to tell them what's happening is, how, when, who's going to be responsible for things. And it ends up taking like a checklist and making it more robust by allowing you to add due dates and responsibilities.
And like assign people and I just like it for myself because I'll put like, I have different categories of work that I need to do, personalized tasks, but it's also really helpful for when you are actually doing your creative workflow. If you like Asana, you can actually sit there and like work through, like make little projects and stuff and timelines. So and I'm like a calendar.
If you like sticky notes, you can do that with Asana too.
Yeah, I know. And I love the calendar version of all the tasks. And then you can just quickly move them around if they don't work. Right. Now, do you do social media scheduling? Do you use anything for social media scheduling? No, you don't.
I don't. People have talked to me about this, but so for me, I will just say that I mainly I focus in on Instagram. It's one of my 3 marketing strategies that I have decided is part of my business. And it's really the main social media platform that I'm on. And I use it almost like a mini blog. It's very cathartic for me. I don't do a lot of blog posting because I'm not trying to reach a mass market audience. And so I like to write my Instagram captions in the moment of what's on top of my mind. And so because I will say that I do spend maybe 15 minutes at the beginning of the week kind of pulling some pictures that will work kind of for the week because I follow this whole Jenna Kutcher Instagram method. She's amazing. Like if you're looking for some really good Instagram
she is good
training, that is a course I think is worth it. She has this whole idea. There's these 5 things that you should rotate among in your Instagram. And so I will pull pictures that kind of fit my 5 things, and then in the moment I write my quotes and sometimes not my quotes, but I write my captions and sometimes they don't even match up too much to what the picture is, but they're very cathartic for me because they're like little mini blogs.
Yeah. Jenna Kutcher Jenna Kutcher is awesome. Now I do a little bit of scheduling because I've got like podcasts and blog posts, and one that I use is Later.
That was a good one.
You can if you have like the paid ones, like $9 a month or something, so it's very affordable. But you can actually like
Yes.
schedule your stories. Now you do have to manually go upload it, but at least then you can like make all your images on Canva. If you're like, I want to launch this new project or I want to launch a podcast, like you can have it all done and ordered and it's all there and it has a great media library. So that's one that I really,
Yeah, that one's good. Planoly is good. I used it for a little while when I was scheduling. I really enjoyed it. Similar, they do similar functions, just a matter of which interface you like better. It's funny because here I am, the systems guru, and I'm saying I don't use systems for social media, but I think this is the thing, and this is another tip I'm going to give you. Just because everybody's doing it doesn't mean you have to.
amen to that. Totally
You
true.
know?
It's so true. Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah. So that doesn't mean that I'm going to let you off the hook on not using Dubsado and Asana, because those to me are like you need some sort of CRM and you need some sort of project management system.
And what do you use for calendar booking? Because everyone's like, I love Acuity. I love Acuity. I got onto Acuity and it stressed me out. So like I went back to Calendly.
I think they're both great. I'm on Acuity. The reason why is because I like it. It fits with the way my mind works, but it is complicated. It has several layers of setups. So like the best thing about being on you need to be on a calendar scheduling system. So let's just go with that. The reason why is because you don't want all these emails going back and forth with your clients about when they can book you. So both systems allow you to put it like sync with your calendar so that it already sees what you've already booked and blocks those off automatically. It allows you to add in like when you're available.
Yeah.
I love a lot of entrepreneurs are like, I work whenever I should be whenever I want to work. That's one of my other tips is don't do that. Like give yourself when you get really real about the time that you have to get to your business and when those hours are available, some of the overwhelm goes away because you're not constantly thinking about when I should work, how I should work, where I should work, all these things. Like when you get really real about that. So I like the calendar scheduling systems because I've entered in general hours because I know like every day when I'm going to work and when it's different, you can go in and block off the day differently if you need to. So like sometimes I need to block off a Friday afternoon and sometimes I don't. And so I can just go into the actual calendar in the system and do that. The other thing it lets you do is you can set up different appointment types. So, if you are doing multiple services in your business or you're doing like you are, where you have multiple services plus a podcast, you can set up all these appointment types. And when it's time to have a client book, you send them the little scheduling link and they go in and it checks what your availability is and what you already have booked. And it presents the hours that are available to them to actually book with you.
Yeah. And does like time zones and you have like email reminders and like, it's just, again, and like even Calendly, for example, like you can do one, I think, event for free. So it's like, if you have like one, like one call that you need to have or one podcast, it's like literally a no-brainer. It's so good.
Yeah. And they integrate with Zoom, which a lot of us are using for because we're working virtually with clients, right? So it's so much more impactful to be on a system like Zoom, which allows you to do virtual video conferencing where you can see the other person's face. It almost feels like you're in person after you've done it for a while. And so I love the calendar systems. Both allow you to integrate with Zoom, put a Zoom link into the appointment, and then it's just already done for you. You don't have to think about it. It's just another step out of the system, out of the steps that you have to do to set up, working with a client.
It's really good.
Yeah.
So I think we could talk about this forever, but I think we've covered such good tips. And this isn't usually like my typical podcast, I guess, theme, but I love it because I feel like it's one of those things where it's like, we just need to like bring home the practical, like we need to home run the practical. And I feel like we've totally home runned it today. And I guess what I've liked about following you is that some people like look at the systems and it's like this rah, buy me, you need this. And you're saying, well, what's going to keep it simple and what's going to keep it efficient? And that's what we go for. And I think it's just really, really good. So thank you so much for coming on, Andrea. I really appreciate your talent and your time and your just your advice and really where you're coming from, because I think it's really refreshing, to be honest. So can you just tell my audience just kind of what services you offer and where they can find you?
Yeah, so the main service I offer these days to kind of come into my business is a strategy to action service. And what that is we're going to take a look at like what your mission and vision are and how we can align your goals so that you're actually going to achieve your vision and serve your mission. And then we're going to talk a lot about like how are you set up to make money and do your offers, like kind of work with that and then work with like your strengths the best. And then we're going to put together plans in order for you to actually actually achieving those goals. And so that's the strategy to the action. From there, you can work with me on multiple other ways. So I have some ongoing programs where you can have some additional accountability and strategy every month, and you can hire me as your project manager, and I can do some implementation tasks for you. And so that's how I work with clients. It's the strategy to action is 5 calls, and I always say my clients have multiple breakthroughs during those calls. It's really, a lot of people get really nervous about guaranteeing results. I can tell you that I have huge results working with me. People make more money, they spend less time in their business. And that's really what we want, right? More money, less time.
Exactly. So they can find your website.
Me on, sorry.
Yeah, sorry. thecreativespring.co.
Yes, www.thecreativespring.co. And then I'm on Instagram, like come talk with me. I'm the Creative Spring there. And I respond back to every comment, every DM. I love getting on, I love doing video DMs back and forth with people. I mean, I know that a lot of this is to get comfortable with somebody coming into your business and giving you, the advice to make sure that what you're doing is right. It takes a lot of trust and I love that part of building up my client base. I love the interaction that I have in the process of getting to know you before I work with you. So come talk with me.
That's awesome. Thank you so much again, Andrea. And make sure you go check her out, The Creative Spring on Instagram and thecreativespring.co online. Thank you again.
Thank you. It's been wonderful.
Thank you so much for joining me on this episode. I just wanted to let you know something really cool, in that I have spent a lot of time redoing all of my coaching packages. So you can check them all out on my website, mishpope.com. I have a brand new package called No Frills Reboot 60, which allows you to create your coaching contract without all the fluff, the bonuses, and all the extra stuff that you may not want, but all the coaching for you. I also have an in-depth life strategy coaching package, which is for you who wants all the juicy support, all the extra support, the bonuses. I'm added in yin yoga videos for you. It's really a 4-month deep dive with a ton of extra support from me. You have me at your fingertips all the time. And lastly, for those of you who'd like to really learn about your strengths and your zone of genius, I have a 90-minute strengths and talents call. So go to my website, mishpope.com, and click on the life coaching tab for all the updated life coaching packages. I would love to connect with you.